including for the negligence of the service provider and I unreservedly apologize for it and the trauma it has subjected affected Nigerians to, directly or indirectly. We have decided that all the candidates affected in the 157 centers of the 882 be contacted to retake their examinations. These candidates are to be contacted through text messages addressed to their registered phone number from tomorrow. Their email addresses, their profiles, and phone calls by Jamb. They are directed to reprint their examination slips for the rescheduled examination dates.
We appreciate the fact that Jamb did not only acknowledge the outcry, but immediately initiate a transparent review process that involves critical stakeholders, including NAM. We are satisfied with this integrity of the review, which has led to the identification of genuine technological issues in some centers, and according to the decision for the receipt for affected candidates.
Parents in Nigeria are grateful for this progress we are making in Jamb for us to have a quality and sound education in the country. And for the window that is created to take this examination, Prof, we say thank you, and the entire management of, we will ensure that our words come out en masse, those that are affected, to do the needful.
All right, that was the registrar of Jamb yesterday, Professor Isiaq Oloyede. It was quite emotional. Of course, he apologized and take full responsibility for that error recorded in the 2025 UTME results. Of course, I do respect him for taking ownership of that error, but somebody was crying or it was emotional. Why were the people there clapping for him?
They were applauding his tears.
Oh, his boldness.
Maybe.
To take ownership. All right, so that's not why we are here. We are being joined on the program via Zoom by Adewale Adeoye. Adewale Adeoye is our senior colleague in this profession, and of course he will be sharing his thought with us on what's transpired yesterday during that press briefing. Adewale, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, so what do you make of what happened yesterday?
Well, I think it's important that when you make a mistake, you admit that you have committed an error. So it's a good thing that the registrar of Jamb was able to admit that he made a lot of mistakes. And I think we should learn from that. However, I think the admittance of that error came too late. It came at a time, unfortunately, that at least one candidate was compelled to commit suicide in Lagos State. Yes. We don't know what may have happened to other candidates who are overwhelmed by trauma, who are psychologically disturbed. I know people that are close to me, relations, so telling me that their children refuse to for so many days. So the devastation on the psychology, on the mental balance of these candidates, on their future, is something that is very difficult to quantify. So I think the Jamb, I doubt if also Jamb will not repeat the same mistake. For instance, this morning, so students have received tests that they should come back and take the exam on Saturday. So they are being given just less than 72 hours notice.
To prepare.
And I know one of, And I know one or two students that have been asked to come and take the examination 6:30 a.m. And I wonder what must have allowed that kind of decision. That you have to have young candidates, some of them as young as 17, 16, 18, and we all know the security here in this country to come and receive this exam on Saturday, 6:30 a.m. I don't know why, the Jamb is magical about that particular time. That has to be 6:30 and not 9 a.m. And I'm quite sure that a lot of candidates may not even receive this test. So I think we need a fundamental change in the structure and form of Jamb.
Okay, then.
Jamb was established, I think, in 1978 or thereabout. Before that time, there was nothing like Jamb. Jamb limits the choices of students to about 1 or 2 universities, whereas before, a student can take as many universities as possible, and then you can now decide which university to go. But Jamb tells you to take one university as first choice, and then maybe polytechnic as second choice, and then college of education. It means that you cannot go to that university. You are compelled to either choose a polytechnic or a particular college of education.
Yeah.
Whereas in this country we have 283 universities, and we have out of that 883, 69 are owned by the federal government, while 66 universities are owned by the states. While I think 148 private universities exist. So we have enough universities that students should be able to make their choice. A student should be able to take maybe up to about 5 universities or 10 universities at a time. In the United States, students can take up to 80 forms of different universities. So that the challenge of not having a institution where you are admitted will never happen. So we have a institution where Jamb is a product of a garrison state. It's the only institution that can conduct admission for candidates seeking universities. In the US, there are 2 institutions. We have one, the ACT, and then the other one, I think, is AST. So it gives students alternatives. And apart from that, they also have a institution where candidates can take up to 80, 100 forms of different universities so that you can have a broad opportunity of making your choice. So I think we need a fundamental restructuring of Jamb. I don't think Jamb should be the only board that will conduct examination for students.
Yeah.
What has happened is quite devastating for so many families in this country. And I hope that the federal government will do something. Unfortunately, the National Assembly has not even said anything about such a very, very important issue. But if it's about the Senate President and Senator Natasha, they will be debating the issue almost every day. This is a national issue that I think that the National Assembly should have taken the lead way, should have provided, the leadership in terms of intervention, in terms of providing an alternative for these students whose career has been ruined by an organization that is, that came out of military fiat in 1978.
All right.
So it all comes down to fundamental restructuring of the educational system. And I think we should not allow this issue to go without challenging it at every front.
All right, Adewale, you raised a salient point, noting that this unfortunate incident has caused mental imbalance, devastation, and even loss for some families. And then looking at some comments online, many Nigerians believe that the retake of the exam is unfair. Do you also share that same sentiment, or do you think there are other ways that Jamb can also make a restitution?
Well, I think the first we look into, IT as the way to track Jamb. A lot of surveillance things in rural areas, unfortunately, do not have access to computer. So you may have a very large student that may not perform very well in Jamb simply because his access to computer, because he lives in rural areas, it's not savvy enough to be able to handle Jamb examinations. I know some students who say that, look, while they were doing that, they didn't even know where to press on the computer because they were not exposed to these computers adequately to be able to prepare them, for students in our area. So they could define educational image in their parochial worldview. Because they live in that, they think people, the same aspect, same ability that they have maybe top Nigerians in rural areas, and some of them do not use computer. So when you say that your examination has to be computer and all that, you also have to realize that it is not everyone, every student, that's supporting to be able to use computer. A brilliant may stop just because of the fact that the student cannot effectively use computer. So I think we need to look at this issue critically because it's about the future of our children. And these children are very young, they are just 17, 18, 19. The mind is very tender, it's very raw, it's very vulnerable. They are not exposed to the rudiments, of socio-economic challenges. So a little thing like this can shatter their dreams. They can destroy their future. They can destroy their hope. They can, make that its capacity for it. We need a kind of a solution, then a solution that's structured to ensure we have other these that can cause stabilization of the problems or that the amount of Jamb.
All right, what you just said now will take me to my next question. Of course, that will be the statement of the Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Tuji Alausa, who said that there is need to institute CBT for all other exams conducted by WAEC and NECO, as well as NAPTEB. You just told us here now that in some rural areas, there is limited access to computers. So how do you marry the two together?
It's a very strenuous decision that not formed not informed by a sort of the capacity of public schools and private schools in Nigeria. Most of these are already serious, their children like private, they can to buy computers for their children. And unfortunately, public schools are almost, the also behind school is to have a situation of this level of private staff can be in school children of contact, children of prayers, of Yoruba, or drugs, or Canada. But once for previous in Italy, I'm sure I take this school, I show which they don't understand, they don't become administrators of sensitive decisions. So they don't understand what the children of other people pass through. In those days, the children of the Prime Minister of religion, Awolowo, and then public schools, the children of hunters, children of traders, other people. So they had a feeling of what actually meant. They knew, the troubles, the toils, the challenges of people from poor homes. For the past 30 years, we have people matched from private schools who end up as scholars formation and millions of education. So the driving policy based on the household experience without looking around the scope of challenges that people in rural areas work where there's light, they have never seen light before, and they are very fast students who are in final years who can compete anywhere in the world, but they don't have access to computers. So if we have YIC driven by ICT, have we conduct enough research to know any finance students of secondary can actually use computers? Our policymaker, the foreign policies from their experiences, not from the experiences of the people that are supposed to go. I can tell you that is going to fail. It's going to create more students, and it's going to diminish their hope for a better future.
Do you think that the glitch could have been avoided, especially when it was recorded that Jamb noticed issues as early as the mock exam in April?
Yeah, there are things that won't be, in some streets, they accept to move their beds. Those beds survive. There's a rural state that the Khalid told me they were about they collect their beds, they said they have tears and on their bed. They collected those beds and they did not return back. So as we go to return back, they are scrambling back, interest from anywhere around. So you can that kind of state of mind of students to write that somebody is here that's subjected in that kind of occasion. They then return those pets back them, And there was no enough note about conduct, a code text, coming to examination. So it's a kind of shock, a psychological shock to this student they prepared for. So I think that Jamb failed, and I think it's not the first time that has failed. It's just that it's the first time Nigerians have raised their voices, using social media. Jamb has been committing this for so many years, even before the events of the current, registrar. So it's an historic problem that has to modern action solely within the time around. Jamb is completely overhauling. You need to idea a list, and they need to apologize to the demand, and they must also because of that ensure this kind of thing don't happen. But what they are saying that we should come right in on call and start to you are giving them to even do revision to some are trapped from when to that they are trapped for 100 kilometers to accompany them to come back and write that exam on stand of the without even enough on what they're supposed to do. And even you have to apologize to this student. I would have expected that you have visited the home, the family of the lady that committed suicide, but they are being arrogant about it. Apology is not enough. This apology is because they want to keep their house. I don't think they are genuine interest, in getting to Nigeria, because we should say, some of these children, especially like that, and God be feeling that not bad. So we need a system that represents greatly human, and a system that recognizes that the life of the son of a teacher, is the quality of life of son of a teacher or an artisan is same with that of a minister. So we should show woman, we should show empathy. We should not give Nigerians the pressure. The state is abolished the not service of life, and that's good for you to report and do this thing with impunity. And now we should realize things of continuous way can provoke, doctrine, not believe police to communicate and just start. Well, when people need to sort in silence, the consequences are not as good for the country and even the operators of the system.
All right, before we allow you go because of the poor quality of our audio, psychologically now, what are the things that parents might need to do on their wards before they go for the receipt?
Well, first of all, parents should not be harsh on their parents and their children, because some of these problems are not their faults. So if your child scored a very low mark, the thing is not admitting child. The right to do is not start to abandon to isolate child. You need to confront the child, psychologically, mental, sociologically, and try to look at the looks so that tell the should read so that I can be able to prove. And it's not the end of it. You need to break down, not mean that you cannot make it in life. So we should be very soft our children, educate them, and put them to try more as we can.
All right, Adewale Adeyu, we must thank you very much for your time on the program this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we sincerely do apologize for the poor quality of that interview. Of course, the network was not so good and the audio was quite bad. So we hope Jamb will do the needful and, of course, avoid a repeat of what happened during the 2025 UTME exams. And there are plans for these candidates to go and rewrite the exam. We hope what happened then will not happen again.
What has Jamb done to build trust? Excuse me. What has Jamb done to build trust again? Because, I mean, I can't imagine what a student who wants to take that exam again is thinking right now.
That was why I mentioned the need for their parents to work on their psychology so that they will go into that examination all with confidence. We'll see how things pan out in the coming days. That's the show today. We thank you very much for watching. I am Ajibola Ojoshola. Do remember to join us tomorrow at 10.
And I am Joy. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.